Yes?
What about the banana left on the table, like, so it gets almost kind of black? Would it be more filled with enzymes?
I would think it would be more filled with metabolic enzymes.
Right.
And there's no question these metabolic enzymes do have some health benefit.
Right.
But it's not really well understood exactly what they are. And again, I know this is one of the biggest mantras of the raw food movement. You don't get devitalized enzymes. And I do agree, any kind of vitality of life is healthy for you. So I'm definitely supportive of the raw food, except for you live in the Arctic. And then therefore you need more heat than just the vitality of food. And of course you can mix it. So obviously a best diet is to have both the apple pie and the apple every once in a while. Does that kind of answer your question? I know we're kind of moving around in circles. And there's no question, we come from Malaysia. It's way, way better there to eat the fruit raw, picked right off the vine, than it would be cooked. Here, I'm not suggesting you shouldn't have fruit, but you would tend to want it heated up a little bit in the winter for the coldness, or have the fruit as a treat and then have some hot foods at other times. Another way you can do it equally as much is eat the fruit and drink some hot tea along with it, especially something like ginger tea or cayenne tea or prickly ash tea. Of all of those, the ones that's the most acceptable, of course, is the is the ginger. Cinnamon also is very heating too. And so again, if you put some cinnamon on your fruit, it's very heating. Funny as it may seem, cinnamon is more heating than cayenne, substantially. Yes?
What about, I'm not sure what Malaysia's like for pollution on the food, but in somewhere like India where there's lots of bacteria or possibly like parasitic stuff on the food, then cooking is beneficial, but what is steaming sort of the best you could do in that situation?
Well, you're quite right. And so in most of the areas where there's a lot of heat and there's not a lot of refrigeration, cooked is beneficial for your health, just so you don't get dysentery, etc. So you could well wash it. And of course a peelable fruit is more acceptable than a non-peelable fruit. But even something like a watermelon, if it's grown on polluted water, it'll absorb some of that water inside of it. So you almost have to have the enzyme system in your body and the probiotics and the ecological balance of a local person to be able to handle that food without getting dysentery from it. And so it really comes down to if you're a native there or if you're a visitor, a tourist, a foreigner, an expat to the area, how much it'll affect you. Of course, in India, they don't eat as much raw food as they do in other parts of the world because of the pollution, and same with China. But you would see a real big movement in Japan for it, even though they have kind of the same possibilities. But I mean, let's face it, the difference between the hygiene in Japan compared to India is like as far apart as you can get on the spectrum. And so you're not worried about it as much. Another way you can do it, and it was traditionally used throughout history, is, and this is one of the reasons a lot of herbs and spices were added to foods. The herbs and spices will take care of the putridness of the food. So they will be able to work with it. And that's why, like, as you might remember, thyme has a chemical in it called thymol.
Right. Could you wash it in like essential thyme oil, like wash vegetables?
Or you could even wash it in a thyme tea.
Okay.
Or you could even eat thyme along with it, or drink some thyme tea along with it.
Right. Okay.
So and traditionally, for example, like, you know, traditionally, let's say if you're in Greece, which is almost the same kind of issue, if you're eating lamb, it'd probably have a lot of rosemary with it.
Yeah.
And the rosemary would work as kind of a little bit of a anti-putrid agent. So each culture has their own way of dealing with that, including having special rituals at certain kinds of things. Like in India, they have all kinds of chutneys. And of course, they spice up everything. And there's garlic in everything, and there's spices and everything, so that would help. But sometimes that's too, the North American, European palate is too delicate for that. Unless you really like those kinds.